Hello there. Now, as you can tell, this is going to be a talk again about frequency. I've been talking about that recently. And this is my second video of today. And sometimes it's one, usually at least one I try to do. But about a month ago, I had a very bad cold. So, I wasn't doing any videos. It's crazy, is it? People are getting told if they've got cold symptoms to stay at home, and it's just complete control. Before I talk about frequency, I want Boris Johnson. He's obviously just trying to. He knows what he's doing. I watch like a minute clip on YouTube of his new talk, and he's always trying to put in fear in people. Telling people before that their loved ones are going to die. I mean, it's obvious what his game is. The other day, I saw one of his talks, and he was laughing. So it's something. If he was really concerned, he certainly wouldn't be laughing. But this isn't about government. It sort of does relate to what I'm away to talk about. Frequency. Everything is frequency, and and government is just a frequency. And it's like I've said before. The system to me isn't a bunch of people sitting around a table, although it might manifest that way from frequency, but it's actually all of us. It's all of us that manifests frequency with our emotions. If you take all the creatures, everything going, that's all manifesting as a whole on the planet, a collective frequency, bunch of frequencies. And so these frequencies are distorted, and that's why we've got crazy people in government. People that they look a bit nuts. They just crazy. I mean, what is Boris Johnson doing that for? Trying to frighten people? Well, it's a type of control, isn't it? Quite narcissistic, actually, to want to control people and to frighten them. And this is, if you look up like psychologists talking about narcissism, they say this, and that's it, and that's why he would say stuff like this. Because yes, there's a crisis going on, but if you tell people to remain calm, then they'll have a lot better a reality. They wouldn't be running around terrified to go near anybody. If they weren't told to. The people are terrified. And again, it's frequency. Everything's frequency. And what is frequency? That's what manifests decisions, the way you think, the way you feel. It's all frequency. And what's frequency? It's waveform information fields. And these information fields, for example, if you just sit without talking or try not to think, an idea might come, or an insight will come, or something. If you're a different surrounding, then you might feel differently. So different surroundings have got different frequencies to them. And when you become more aware of this, you start to protect your own frequencies from outside people or stuff like that, because they can be detrimental to it. This is what happened to me in this spiritual awakening. You become more protective over your own energy, because other people can suck it from you without them realizing that they're doing it. And visible light. This is something I've been finding out about recently. That, as you could tell by the spectrum, electromagnetic spectrum at the start of this video, that is, a tiny part of reality on this planet. There's other frequencies as well. And, that's the way it is. It's, what we see, for example, someone told me yesterday on Twitter that this person was saying that, that what we see is a higher frequency in 5G. But there's a misunderstanding there. It's like when I was a kid, I touched a bulb and I got electric shock. But when I was looking at the bulb, there was no electric shock. So what that tells you is that visible light and seeing something is much different to interacting with something. Wi-Fi and radio and radiation interacts with our physical bodies, you see. So you have to get to a point, if you're wanting to keep the people safe, if you're in charge of the internet and stuff, you've got to make sure that it's not going to be harmful to the body. And I think we got to that stage, but then they went further than that, you know. And in the 90s and 2000s, people knew about how harmful mobile phones could be. And this was then. But they went beyond that level of radiation. I remember that. And they've not listened for a reason. You know, there's a method behind their insanity. You know, it's obvious to see, you know, because I'm calm, like I say, this whole situation is about creating a fearful frequency. You know, the coronavirus thing, and not just the coronavirus. You know, I don't watch the news, but you know, why would I? You know, it's all about creating fear in people. And remember, everything comes from the top. If they didn't want coronavirus to get here, it wouldn't have got here. But there's been people in Scotland, for example, who have caught coronavirus that in towns where there's no interaction. There's no interaction with, you know, Chinese people or anything like that. So there's no way it can get here. There's no way it can get here. To certain places in Scotland, especially little wee towns that don't talk to anybody outside of it, and there's no Chinese interactions at all. So that means that the frequencies are within the air, and that's why we should consider 5G. You know, very relevant to, you know, I'm talking about frequency, but 5G also. I watched a video a few weeks ago by I think she was a woman from the American news. But she spoke a lot of sense. I can't remember her name, but I found her by accident, really. Obviously, it wasn't by accident. But she was saying, and I found out this information from other sources on the internet as well after I watched it, that 5G at 60 gigahertz actually, microwaves the oxygen molecules, meaning that the air that you're breathing in is all messed up. So it affects you like a flu. And people were warned about 5G. 5G was you know, I watched this thing on the internet called ageoftruth.tv, and this woman from the United Nations left the United Nations because she said 5G is a crime against humanity, and she left the United Nations. That wouldn't happen unless this was a big deal. And so I think 5G needs to be questioned. And again, you know, I'm talking about frequency, but what system who controls frequencies would want to do this? It's very interesting. I don't know. I think, you know, my theory is that everything's frequency, like I say, and that you've got a crossover, you've got an awakening going on just now. And what I believe is happening is it's a mixture of energies, but there's a demonic energy involved because of our mixed emotions. And our mixed emotions has created this demonic force. And everything's changing. So this demonic energy is reacting and acting. And this ego is attached to that, to this demonic side, and it's reacting. And in a sense, this pandemic will wake people up even more. And that's what's happening. There's a global awakening. And I just think that it's meant to happen. You know, that's what this unexpected spiritual awakening has showed me how everything is meant to be and everything's synchronistic. And even the people that have died, you don't die. You know, it's just that you're meant to leave the planet at that time. So things might look like a disaster, but they're actually not. But the system is trying to use this to put fear into you. Like I was saying earlier about Boris Johnson, he's trying to frighten people. You don't say that your loved ones are going to die, because it's not even true. Many people's families haven't died. But why would you want to put fear into the minds of people? You got to ask yourself that. What kind of person would do that? And I certainly hope people aren't going to vote after this, because you will need to go and see a psychiatrist if you feel the urge to vote again. I think you should go and see a psychiatrist if you feel that urge, because that would just be absolutely insane. It's insane voting anyway, but after this shambles from so many governments, I mean, they let the thing in here. They all messed up, which means all government is a shambles. And what we need to start doing is going within ourselves. Because you can't change by voting, like I've said before. And it hasn't. Look what's happened. We can only change by changing our frequencies within us, and then that changes the planet. So everything goes by frequency. What's a flu? It's a frequency. And so that's how we change things, by healing ourselves within. And that heals our space. And then when everyone's doing this, we're healing each other. And that's how you change things. That's what's going on just now. There's a transition going on. I don't feel the fear that everyone's feeling. I understand that there's an awakening happening. And you need nothing outside of yourself. Use the isolation as a time to reflect on yourself, meditate. Observe it rather than being scared. And you'll actually see where it's going. Police and army, they're trying to control people more and more and more and more and more, and it's excelling itself all the time. Climate change, all the different things that goes on. When so many different things happens, it's obvious it's not by accident. And it's because they're scared of humans waking up. People don't. You realize a system would only do this if they were scared of humans. Why would they do it? You know what I mean? Why would they feel the need to control you? If they weren't worried about you, they wouldn't do that. So I think it's obvious to me that the system is scared of humanity, terrified of humanity waking up. But like I say, the system is everything comes from energy. What you feel in this moment determines what you're going to do in this moment. And feelings is energy. So that's how you change things, by changing the energy of yourself. Then whatever you interact with, you change the energy of that or that person, whatever. And that's how you change the world. But I certainly hope nobody's going to vote after this shambles from all governments. And I'm just going to leave it there. Thank you for watching. Thank you.